the U.S. is playing two of these friendlies to prepare for the Copa. One against Colombia, which they played yesterday. And then another one coming up against, you know who this is against, Noah?
Brazil.
Yeah. Way better team than Colombia.
Full strength team too, by the way.
So if how the match against Colombia went is any indication of how this Brazil match is going to go, this could be bad.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's definitely not good. Yeah, 5-1 against the Colombians yesterday, which I didn't really know what to expect in this game. I think we were technically ranked higher than Colombia in the FIFA rankings going into this game, which we probably shouldn't have been. I think we were at 11 and they're at 12. That's what I saw. So, I mean, that's to say that regardless of where these two teams were ranked, I was thinking and hoping that this would at least be a competitive game. I didn't know if we were going to win, but I certainly would not have expected it to be this lopsided. But the fact that we got destroyed like this is definitely not good because we're trying to put on a good showing at the Copa. We're hosting it, playing a lot of really good teams, and this is not how you wanted. This is not the vibe that you wanted to start it off. The one thing I will say is I do think it was slightly more competitive than 5-1. What happened was we got bammed on twice right at the beginning of the game, twice in the first 20 minutes, but managed to stay in it. And I did like some of the footy that we were playing in that. It was a very entertaining opening 20 to 30 minutes. It was back and forth, up and down. Both teams were playing some good footy. It was competitive. We lost complete control of the game state, though. It was way too track meety.
Yeah,
it was
100%.
way too track meety. I don't really know all that much about Colombia and how they play, if they're that much of a counterattacking team or a transition team. But when they were getting out in transition, we were on our heels, and that's just not really the game state that you want at all against a team like that. We let it get out of control. But, the U.S. did stay in it, and we're able to hack it to 2-1 in the second half on a really nice goal by Fuller and Balogun combined with Tim Weah. And at that point, I was like, okay, we're probably going to lose, but maybe we can scrounge a draw out of this. And also, just overall, I was not feeling that badly about it because it was a back and forth competitive game that, the goals that they scored, the second goal that they scored was an insane bicycle kick.
That was crazy.
That was
really, that was so sick.
I don't know how much you can do to stop that in particular. But the first one, the other thing is that there was just so many bad and dumb giveaways.
Oh, so
which
bad.
is a theme that we're going to talk about with the Seattle Sounders soon. But
it's in the water.
It's just I thought some of the attacking sequences and some of the footy that was played was honestly pretty good, at least in the first half. But the defense was a mess. Cameron Carter-Vickers, the bots, they told me a lot about him back in the day. He plays for Celtic, whatever. I feel like every time he got the ball, he just passed it directly to Colombia.
Yeah.
That happened 4 or 5 times. Tim Ream, honestly, who's been of great service since he got back in the mix. I thought the CBs were a mess in this game. Joe Scally, another bot guy.
Yep.
Not good.
Not good.
And that's not good because Serginho Dest has a long-term injury.
Correct.
And one of the big things that this team had going for it at full strength was that fullback duo of Jedi and Serginho Dest. Dest is injured. Scally is one of the guys that needs to step up. The bots said he was good. He did not. He was under it the whole game.
He was bad.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe some. I feel like every time I do USMNT punditry, I look at one of these players propagated by the bots and I'm like, this guy's not good. And then they're like, what were you watching? He was awesome. So maybe people are going to come at me with that with Joe Scally. I don't know about this Joe Scally thing. That's what I'm going to say about that. I did not think he had a good game. Didn't think Jedi had a particularly good game. Thought the midfield was a mess. That's why we were getting ran on. And
Chris Richards was awful.
Frankly, Chris Richards, for as good as of a few attacking sequences as we did have at times in the first half, I was pretty disappointed in Balogun. This was supposed to be the guy that solidified the number 9 position, and he did have the assist on the Tim Weah goal, so I'll give him credit for that. But he's got to be Bayman in goals. That's why he is supposed to be the number 9 that ascends us to the promised land, to the next level. I didn't think he looked much like that in this game. He didn't score a goal. Don't think he got all that. I think he might have had one good chance.
Yeah.
Where he almost scored, but didn't. But just on the whole, he didn't look all that dangerous. He didn't score.
He gave away a pass that led to a Colombia goal.
Yep, yeah, he did that as well. So just really in all around, it was a mess. It was a mess, especially late in the game. And, it's unfortunate in one respect, which is that I remember how pumped I was on this team after Nations League last year, and just how good the ball was we played against the CONCACAF opposition that we had. And, Balogun looked great. He was scoring goals. Gio looked phenomenal. I remember going through and shouting out the whole starting 11, down to Jedi, down to the CBs, Yunus Musa, Tyler Adams. Everyone was balling. And this was in the BJ Callahan days, which shout out BJ Callahan.
Shout out BJ Callahan.
There's going to be a lot of calls for BJ Callahan to get back in.
Did you see the photo of him?
No.
There was this hilarious photo on Twitter where he's just sitting behind GGG, and they zoomed in on him, and he's just sitting there, his face is just no expression. And then there's the next photo is just him holding an iPad, and it just looks like he's telling Greg exactly what to do. I can't believe he's still on that staff.
That's fuel to the fire. He's probably sitting there thinking this would never have happened if I was coaching this team. But I have to say, regardless of your thoughts on BJ Callahan versus Greg Berhalter or anything like that, seeing a performance that bad, I can't help but feel my excitement about the ceiling of this team, which my point when I was gassing the team up last year was not that we're the greatest team in the world or that we're going to win the World Cup or anything like that, but it was more like I could see the path to us becoming a legitimate competitive squad on the international stage, where when you go into a game against, say, the Netherlands, like we did at the World Cup, I could see the path to where this player pool could go into a game like that and maybe not win for sure, but compete. That's what I want to see. I want us to see us go into these games against these heavyweights on the biggest stage at the World Cup and hold our own and put ourselves in positions to where we could feasibly take results in those games. I think that's the next step for this team to reach what its ceiling can be, is to be a credible opponent against these heavyweights, right? And what I saw in Nations League last year made me think that with the talent that we have in this player pool, which I still think, in terms of raw talent, this is the best player pool that we've had, regardless of what you think of that proposition after a result like this. I mean, you still have some class players in this pool. I still love Weston. I still love Tyler Adams. I'm still really high on Gio, despite the struggles he's had at the club level at Nottingham Forest this year. I think these are really good, really talented players. But I mean, you need to show it on the field. You need to go. Colombia is a good team, but they're not super amazing. They have James, who was a superstar for Real Madrid for a lot of years, but he's not what he used to be. And they have another 5 guys or so that are playing in the EPL, but aren't super dominant players or anything. They have John Duran, shout out Chicago Fire. He's doing pretty well at Aston Villa. So they have I would describe them as good, not great. They're like the Albert Rusnak of national teams.
I mean, I think that's underselling it.
Because you think Colombia is that good?
Well, they came into this game.
You think they're so good that they should be boat racing us like that?
I don't know if they should be boat racing us like that, but they did come into this game with a 14-game winning streak.
Yeah, no, that is true. So, and they always their all-time record versus the U.S. is very one-sided in their favor.
Yeah,
and but I don't know. When I was just looking at the starting 11s going up against each other, I think you could give them the edge. I don't know if it's so lopsided in talent to where 5-1 makes sense. That is one team just drastically underperforming their level. For it's one thing to lose the game, but to get outclassed, outplayed, outcoached, out everything like that.
Yeah,
that was I don't think that was necessarily reflective of what you would think of the quality of the starting 11s. Maybe I'm delusional for that. And maybe I'm underselling Colombia a little bit. I probably am. I don't know all that much about their team. But
the U.S. is supposed to be this, like,
yeah, exactly.
This team.
We're supposed to be a team that can go into a game like that and against an opponent like that and at least compete now. At least compete.
Yeah.
And to get 5-1, oof, I mean, terrible performance. Even though, like I said, I think it was more competitive than the scoreline. But, 5-1 is 5-1. And when you give up 3 goals from the 77th minute on and played off the field to that degree late in the game, it doesn't mean anything positive. And now you go into this game against Brazil, who's one of the best teams in the world. I mean, we all know.
They got Vinny, bro.
You see what I'm saying? Like, there's levels to it, and Brazil is on one level. I don't think, Colombia is on that level.
No. So you should be getting 5-1 against Brazil,
yes.
Not Colombia.
Yes.
In a tune-up game.
Yeah.
And looking like you've never played soccer together in your life.
Right.
I gotta ask you, Ari.
Okay.
Does this result happen if there's more MLS players on this roster?
So
we gotta know.
Noah had a good tweet about this.
I triggered the bots.
Someone at 1,000 likes. If you had Walker Zimmerman, Jordan Morris, Christian Roldan, Jesus Ferreira, and the whole gang out there, do we get 5-1? I don't know.
I don't think so.
That squad has grit.
Yeah, that squad has great. Well, if you look at the past results, Ari, the last time that the U.S. played Colombia, it was a 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
And guess who was playing? It was all the MLS bots.
Yeah. Think about it.
Do the math.
You put all the Euro guys out there. Oh man, this is we're gonna rile some people up with this. The one thing I will say is that anytime the USMNT loses like this, it's actually kind of a win-win from my perspective, because I do root for the team to do well and I want them to succeed. I'm a USMNT fan, unfortunately. I really am. But if they don't do well and they take an L like this, that's an especially bad L, it makes the bots very upset, and that's a W every time. I think it's funny when the bots are upset. The bots don't I don't think they like either of us.
They don't like either of us, no.
Yeah, if there's one group of people whose opinion about me I care about and respect less, than the bots, I don't think there is that group for me. So I like seeing them in shambles like this, but I'm not going to say I like watching the U.S. get boat raced 5-1 in any capacity. So
Greg,
I mean, this is just okay. So let's talk about Greg. One thing that I was thinking about at the beginning of this game was just how much I don't care who the coach of this team is. I don't think, especially, I've expressed on the show multiple times, I kind of have the Garth Lagerwey view on it. He said the other day he thinks it's 80% your roster, 20% coaching. I think that's about how I think of it. And I think that's even more, it's probably skewed even more at the national team level, because the player pool for national teams, a lot of it is decided for you. It's not like you're building a roster like a club team where you're deciding who to sign, and in the case of MLS, how you manage the salary cap. There's players on the fringes that you can debate. Should this guy get called in? This guy's doing well at the club level. Does he deserve a shot? There's stuff like that where the coach makes the decision and it matters. But I mean, just taking the U.S. pool as an example, your core of Pulisic, Weston, Tyler, Jedi, Dest when he's healthy, Balogun now that he's in the mix, all those guys, you're basically all you're doing as the national team coach is calling in the obvious guys, creating a starting 11 with those guys and putting them out in the field and hope that they perform. Am I bugging? Is there that much more to being a national team coach than that? You can talk about Greg's tactics versus another coach's tactics all day, but at the end of the day, the guys in your pool have to, it's more incumbent on them, I think, than anything, than whoever the coach happens to be. So I just don't think, I don't know, you could put a big name coach in control of this team and if the players aren't executing, it's not. I'm just telling you, it's not going to make that big of a difference. I really don't think it is. But I will say, we've talked about coaches that can give you a tactical edge in a game, in any given game, and I do think that there probably are coaches at the national, international level that can give you more of an edge than others. And I mean, I don't really consider Greg to be on that tier of coach. So, I don't know. I think the Berhalter stock is anytime you take the most lopsided defeat of your tenure as a coach, that's going to hurt your stock. And I don't know, like you needed to be like more competitive than that. So I don't know. I don't know if that take made sense.
No, I think it makes sense. You got to think about what these here's the way I saw it. To me, I don't really particularly like the way that Greg played. Like, I don't know if plays is the right word, but like tactically developed this team. That said, who gives a shit? Like, you still have like all of these incredible players who, at the end of the day, if they want to be fluid in play, like people say, oh my God, Greg is so strict with his rigid positioning and all this stuff. I'm like, if you've ever played soccer, man, sometimes you just do whatever the hell you want when you're a player out there and you cook. And I think the national team is a perfect example of that. That said, who's going to come in and do anything else? Plus, they're not going to fire him till after the Copa. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, if at all. I don't know. It definitely, like, not to agree with the bots, but it definitely, when you see a result like that, it kind of paints the whole hiring process in not a great light.
Well, that was a sham for sure.
It was a sham for sure. I won't deny that. My thing is I just don't really care that it was a sham.
Yeah, me either.
I don't think that whoever they could have brought in would have made that big of a difference. But, maybe someone else wouldn't have gotten 5-1.
Can we just get the women's national team head coach to do dual shifts? Is that possible?
I mean, I'm willing to try anything. I think that'll about do it for USMNT.
Probably
punditry.
too much even.
We probably went longer on that than we needed to. But I guess on one level, it was nice to get back into it. We didn't do any for like Nations League or anything like that. So, we'll probably, now that they got boat raced and there's been so much discourse about it, I'm definitely like, we should cook on the Brazil game for sure, because I don't know if it's going to go all that much better, to be quite honest with you. I think that could be just as bad, if not worse. And then, imagine the discourse. Like, just say it's like as bad as the 5-1. Imagine the discourse. It's going to be good stuff.
Yeah. I will be there no matter what.